Today's live stream is brought to you by JKD FRZ. Why are you staring at me? Live streams. I'm your host, and today we'll be talking about everything. I almost said streaming again. Shipping. Hope the thumbnail is not too cringe. It's my first time making a thumbnail, and yeah. Stream is not going to be all about RWBY or Bumblebee, but that's the best I could come up with. And I'm trying this music. It says it's copyright free, so hopefully we are good on that. But yes, the thumbnail is the first time ever trying to do that, so if it looks bad, I'll have Jess fix it. But she's not home right now. But yeah, this was originally going to be a regular video, so I was like, you know what? Let's do a live stream Brittany, whenever you start off a stream, you do not turn on your camera right away. So the stream. I turn on my camera and I'm ready to go. Alrighty, so we are ready to go. Yeah, picked a RWBY background just because I couldn't create anything, because once again that is Jess's job. And yeah. Alrighty, let's pull this up so I can see the chat, because I'm signed out of the chat that is on OBS, and I'm currently forgetting the password, the email for it. And Jess is on her way home from work, so it's not like she can actually do that for me right now. Let's see here. Stream is shared. Blah, blah, blah. I'm checking it on my phone. Yep, we are good. Okay. Alright. So, another big reason why I chose RWBY is because RWBY is probably one of the most shipped things in this world. It's got a large shipping community, and like almost every character has like 5 ships a piece, maybe even more than that. It depends on the character. And you know, I just got to thinking, why not talk about shipping in general, and like why people do it. And I was like, you know what? I could literally use this as a way to explain why I ship, how I started shipping in things with media, and all that. And so, yeah, that is what we're going to be talking about. Like I said, I will talk about RWBY, of course, and all that. But I want to start off with why I ship. Now, I didn't really even think about what shipping is when I was a kid, because when you're a kid, and when I say kid, I mean kid, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. At least I didn't think about romance, love, or anything like that. It was usually just I watched something, I enjoyed something, that was it. Like, characters getting together never really was a thing for me when I was a child. I saw it in Disney movies, and the way Disney movies do it, it's like, oh, they don't know each other, they just met, but they're in love. Like Disney did the whole love at first sight, or destined lovers. Oh, this is who I'm meant to be with. But I think they kind of skewed how relationships are supposed to develop in media. Because, like, nowadays, if a relationship doesn't happen within the first season of a show, then people think it's either not going to happen, or it just comes out of nowhere when eventually it happens, stuff like that. So I really didn't get into shipping till I was a little bit older. And I think the first thing, and I think it was the first thing for a lot of us, was Pokemon. And with Pokemon, and it's wild looking back on Pokemon, because when it first came out, parents had no idea what it was or what it was about. They just knew that their kids were crazy about it, because, the concept of a cartoon from Japan being popular in America, it didn't really jive with people at that time. But yeah, the first time I got into shipping was Pokemon, and of course, in that early first season, it of course was Ash and Misty. And I can't tell you exactly why I wanted them to get together, but I think Pokemon started the whole thing that if two characters fight constantly with each other, it's because secretly they find each other attractive. I think that's where that comes from. But yeah, like, as a kid, I had no concept of how long Pokemon was going to go. For all I knew, what we were watching was it. It would end whenever that season ended, because that's usually how things went. Like, back in the day, I don't remember that many very long-running cartoons where things, for one, had a solitary plot, and that, each episode was a lead-off from the last one. Because, cartoons, even if they were long-running, like Bugs Bunny or something, they were standalone episodes. But I wasn't used to long-form storytelling for cartoons. And so I expected it'd be over soon, and if Misty and Ash ended up together, hey, that's great. But little did I know that Pokemon would continue for years, and both Misty and Brock would eventually leave, and then Ash would get new traveling companions, though Brock did return for a while. I don't think Misty has ever really returned as a traveling companion. She's come back, yes, but I don't think she's ever really been a traveling companion again. And really, for a lot of people, I think it's called armor shipping or something, and that's Ash and Serena. I think that's the one in a lot of people's minds actually happened, because she kissed Ash, So, but yeah, that was the first one. And as I got older, I kind of got into the thought of romance mattering to me. I became a very I became a romantist in a way. Like, if a piece of media or a book or a video game had a romance subplot, then I was all for it. I think after Pokemon, I think the first video game that got me into romance was Final Fantasy IX, and that being Zidane and Garnet. And to this day, that's a cosplay that me and Jess both want to do. I want to cosplay Zidane, and I want her to be Garnet. And their relationship is one of the driving points that made me continuously play that game. Because you got to remember, Final Fantasy IX was a 4-disc game on the PlayStation 1. That was the longest game I had beaten at that time. I had 7 and 8, but 9 just grabbed me in a way. I wasn't into Cloud and Tifa or Cloud and Aerith. I wasn't into Squall and Riona. Zidane and Garnet were my power couple. And I mean, they do end up together. You know, with video games, you kind of had a feeling it was going to happen just because of how narratively plot-driven games are, especially Final Fantasy. And then we get into later video games where you can actually choose a love interest. That would get me into it even more. But that was the first video game that really got me in. And then, of course, there was another game I played around that time called Legend of Legaia. If you have never heard of that game, it is one of the early Japanese RPG games that got like a cult following. Sadly, it was vastly overshadowed by Final Fantasy VII, but that is one of the best RPGs I have ever played in my life. It was one of the I actually played it, I think, before Final Fantasy IX. It was the first game where we're like, oh, you can name the characters, you know, and it was very anime, and because of Dragon Ball Z, I related terminology from Dragon Ball Z into that game. Like, level grinding was training, you know, I was training for that next villain, you know, and you can choose at the end if the male MC that you play as and the female MC that's part of your party. It's only a 3-person party. You can decide if he ends up with her or if he ends up with his childhood sweetheart. Depending on what kind of mood I am when I beat the game, I'll either have him end up with a childhood friend who is May, or the female party member who her name is Noah. It just depends on how I'm playing the game. But back onto anime. After that, around that time, you know, Toonami was getting very, very popular. And that is where I mentioned this in my last live stream about RWBY. When Toonami got big, that is when I saw my first harem anime, and that was Tenchi Muyo. And to this day, Ryoko is one of my all-time biggest anime crushes. Like, it was her, Misty from Pokemon, and Sailor Mars from Sailor Moon. Those were my 3 big first anime crushes when I was a kid. But Tenchi would actually lead, even though it's a harem anime, it would lead to my first Yuri pairing that I shipped, and that, of course, being Ryoko and Princess Ayaka, because they constantly bickered, they constantly fought, so a very small part of the fandom decided, I think it's because they're secretly into each other, and the more I looked at it, the more fan fiction I read and all that, I got into that ship. Like, I never found Tenchi as a great shipping character, because I don't know. Tenchi was very wimpy to me, and it's to the point where it's like, I look at harem protagonists this way anyway, it's like, there's nothing special about this guy. Why does he have mountains of women after him? So yeah, I went for Ryoko and Ayaka in that fandom, and yeah, turns out that was the first Yuri pairing that I ever got interested in. And, of course, there was other shows I was watching that had relationships, but they were never really fully, sought after. Like Gundam Wing, you know. Gundam Wing kind of has a relationship in it, but, it's never fully acted upon in a way. And then, of course, you have Dragon Ball. I think there's a lot of people that thinks Goku should have ended up with Bulma. And there's this rumor that Toriyama originally meant Goku and Bulma to end up together, but I don't know if that's ever been proven. I don't know if that quote has ever officially been found. But, there's a lot of people who took that rumor and ran with it. And many say, Bulma did find Goku attractive when he finally grew up, but he was quickly snagged by Chi-Chi. Now, there's a lot of people in the Dragon Ball fandom who hate Chi-Chi, especially for how she acts in the Saiyan arc. But I really do not think there's anyone more perfect for Goku, because, even in Super, it was stated that Chi-Chi and Bulma are the closest to Saiyan women that the Earth has. Now, of course, we would eventually get characters like Kale and Caulifla, which is another very popular ship. A lot of people ship Kale and Caulifla. Now, despite what the anime says, they are not sisters. They are not sisters whatsoever. In Japan, there tends to be, if a female character looks up to a other female, whether they're older or have a higher status than them, they do tend to call them One-chan. It's kind of, I idolize you in a way. But yeah, there's a lot of moments where it kind of shows that I think Kale's feelings are a little bit bigger than just looking up to Caulifla. But, Caulifla is one of my all-time favorite characters that was introduced in Super. I've always wanted a female Super Saiyan, and she was the first one. And I always liked how she was kind of she has Vegeta's brashness, but she has Goku's thirst for becoming stronger. So I think she is the best of both worlds. Hopefully, if Super ever continues in any other fashion besides a manga, hopefully we'll see the Universe 6 Saiyans again at some point, but who knows. So yeah, with Dragon Ball, I was always a Goku and Chi-Chi fan, just because I think Chi-Chi really is the perfect match for him, and if she had continued training, it might have been better, but she always wanted to be a wife, she always wanted to be a mother, and so that is how Chi-Chi ended up. I do think their relationship dynamic gets a bit better as the series goes on. Like, Chi-Chi does kind of lighten up a little bit more. Come on, when Goku was dead, she trained Goten. And Gohan was shocked by that, because she never did it with him. So yeah, Chi-Chi gets better as the series goes on, but I can understand why a lot of people didn't really like her early in Dragon Ball Z, because Chi-Chi from at the end of Dragon Ball to the beginning of Z is like almost a complete different person. But yeah, to me, there's no one more perfect for Goku than Chi-Chi. And that was one of the very first couples cosplays me and Jess ever did, was Goku and Chi-Chi. Now, moving on a little bit more to video games, I think, as I played more games after 9 and all that, yes, there was video game characters that I thought were cute together, or thought they should end up together. Either they did or they didn't. The one game that came out where I full-on shipped this pairing from the very first game in the series to today, and it's one of the few male-female pairings that I am so 100% invested in, and it's actually the first thing me and Jess ever talked about when we first met, and that is Sora and Kairi from Kingdom Hearts. The very first game, these two were pushed toward each other. Yeah, you kind of had Riku there trying to make it look like there might be a love triangle going on, but I think Riku really did it just to get on Sora's nerves. But you had stuff like the ending of Kingdom Hearts 1, I'll Come Back to You. Kingdom Hearts 2, where a lot of people really thought the reunion between Kairi and Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2 was kind of lackluster because all she did was hug him and say, this is real. But I remember reading something where a hug between a guy and a girl in Japan is kind of a big deal because they're a little bit more... Japan is a little bit more... not so open about PDA. Like, kissing someone in public is definitely seen as, like, shocking. So I can only guess hugging is, unless you're family, it's not something you really do a whole lot, unless you're either in family or you're married, and, well, I mean, being married and being family kind of go hand in hand. But, I don't know if that's true. I never really fully researched it. I just remember seeing someone claim that. But then you have Kingdom Hearts 3, ignoring all the side games for right now, with, Naminé taking Kairi's place in Sora's memories and Chain of Memories and seeing how Sora acts around Naminé, to the reason why Xion is pretty much a black-haired Kairi is because she is the reflection of Sora's feelings and all that for Kairi. Kingdom Hearts 3, they finally shared the Palpu fruit together, and just cried when that happened, because it was literally like a culmination of these two love each other. Of course, they've still not kissed, so people still debate it. Kingdom Hearts 4 has still not come out yet, but we'll see when Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out if it progresses or if Kairi will be on the sidelines again. Who knows? But yeah, Kingdom Hearts also has a very huge shipping community. I think Sora and Kairi are mostly rivaled by Sora and Riku. But yeah, that would be a whole other fandom to have to go through to really talk about. Oh, well, there's this one, because it's almost as crazy as RWBY. So, time goes on, video games get more technologically advanced. Then we have games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, where, hey, there's romance in the game, but you can pick who you want to end up with. So that was new. That's the reason why people like me love games like that. I still like BioWare. I'll buy the new Dragon Age. I'll get the new Mass Effect whenever it comes out. Because I love, even though their choices in story kind of, does it really affect the game like they claim it does? Let's just say this. The Mass Effect games and the Dragon Age games, they're no Baldur's Gate 3. But when it comes to romance, those are actually the biggest reason why a lot of people replay the games. They want to see how the romances work out. But, since Mass Effect 1, I've always been a Shepard and Liara person. Yeah, in the early days I played as a male Shepard, but now I only play as Fem Shep. Our friend Brittany, she is a 100% Caden Alenko fan. She cosplays Caden. Every time I play Mass Effect, she's like, "Don't kill me, please." Because I used to kill Caden all the time just because, Ashley is hard to deal with, but he just seems so vanilla in Mass Effect 1. He does get better as a character through the series. I know. But yeah, because of her, I no longer kill Caden, because I've seen Ashley's story play out so many times that, but yeah, she's a male Shep and Caden fan, because in Mass Effect 1, Caden was not romanceable by a male Shepard, but he's romanceable for a male Shepard in Mass Effect 3. There's reasons, but but yeah, Caden, especially in Mass Effect 3, there's a lot of some of the more funnier bits in the series with him alive, if he's there, than Ashley. Ashley is kind of she's kind of a wet blanket in Mass Effect 3, big time. But and Brittany can attest that the voice acting for Mel Shepherd in Caden's romance is way better than Fem Shep. So, yeah, that's another reason why she prefers Mel Shepherd with Caden. And then, of course, we got to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda. That game's been talked to death. But I have to admit, my favorite romance in that game is not with a party member. It's with a side character, and that's Suvi. She is the scientist on your ship, and she is only romanceable by a female writer. So she is a lesbian-only romance option. And I found their romance very cute. It was very dorky, like them doing the awkward flirting and stuff like that. So it's probably the cutest romance it's one of the cuter romances in Andromeda. I romanced Peavy, I romanced Vitra, and they just, I don't know, they didn't have a spark to them like yeah, but of course Brittany likes the Gil romance, which is only with male writer. So shows how opposite me and Brittany are on romances in BioWare games. But not really much else to talk about in Andromeda, just because the romances, some were good, some were and some were just like, why even bother? Yeah, the Gil one, like, she likes Gil because he's hilarious. I've seen the romance scene with Cora at a convention panel that Brittany helped run, and I've never felt more awkward in all my life. She knows exactly what I mean as well. And if you've ever played Andromeda and romanced Cora, you would know why it is. It's very awkward. It's very out there. Now with Dragon Age, once again, I played the first few years in Dragon Age Origins as a male warden, and I would always romance Morrigan. Said that scene was awkward to edit. Yeah, I'm sure it was. But now, whenever I play Origins, I play a female warden, and it's always Liliana. Dragon Age 2, the best romance, in my opinion, by far, is oh, how to explain this? Because in Dragon Age 2, you can decide Hawk's personality by dialogue choices. There's, 100% heroic, and then there's, 100% like violent, and then there is you're a jokester, and never serious, always joking Hawk and Isabella is the best romance in that game because they just gel. They get each other. It's also the best way to be if you definitely want the best friendship with Varric. It's to always be a sarcastic Hawk. Now, of course, in my, female Hawk, Isabella, Now, Inquisition, Brittany's is Blackwall and female Inquisitor, which is interesting if you do know about Blackwall's story. I, of course, am female Inquisitor and Sarah. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Sarah. They find her annoying. But for one, it's the same voice actress as Y'shtola from Final Fantasy XIV. And she was the first full party member that was only for female characters. So, of course, she says it's the beard. But I liked Sarah's romance because it was lighthearted. It was funny. But she does have a depthness to her. And plus, you can get married in the Trespasser DLC. I mean, hello. That's a shipper's dream, is to have your character marry the character you ship them most with. So, yeah, that was... Dragon Age so far has been a fun ride. I'm excited for Velgard. I'm not 100% sure yet who I want to romance in that, but of course I will be playing as a female Rook, as that's the name of the character in this one. We went from the Warden to the Champion to the Inquisitor to the Rookie, pretty much. But yeah, those games are always fun. That's why I'm so excited about hopefully us still getting a remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, just because I think they would tweak the romances some, plus it's going to have hopefully a particular romance in it, the romance with Juhani that was cut pretty much, because she is only for a female Revan, and there's a lot of people who hope they turn Bastilia from male Revan only to both, but we'll see. We'll see if the game ever sees the light of day. So, moving on, we have got some animation to talk about. Now, Avatar: The Last Airbender came out, and I never really watched Avatar because by the time it came out, I was older, and it was just too kid-friendly for me. But man, if you think the ship wars in RWBY are tough, the ones in Avatar, whether it's Avatar: The Last Airbender or Korra, those were battlegrounds, okay? Like, man, people fought about Avatar shipping till the cows come home. Now, of course, Avatar: The Last Airbender had a ton of ships, but I think the main two were Zuko and Katara, and Aang and Katara, and of course, Aang and Katara do end up together at the end of The Last Airbender. But then the same thing happens in Korra. Now, I do not remember if Korrasami had a whole lot of shippers at the beginning of Korra. Now, of course, I think the two most popular ones at first were either Mako and Korra or Bolin and Korra, which, of course, Makora won at the end of book 1, but I have never liked that ship. I just never thought they were good for each other. They bash heads way too much, and book 2 really showcased that. Mako became a much better character in books 3 and 4. Way more likable. He grew up, and started making more mature decisions. But, of course, book 3 comes out, and that's where Korrasami really picked up steam for a lot of people. Now, of course, because of Nickelodeon, they were restricted on what they could show, but Korra and Asami all of a sudden started really spending more time together. And then, of course, book 4 happens. Asami's the only one that Korra wrote to. Korra blushed around Asami, and then, of course, you have the finale, which blew my mind. Okay, because by the time The Legend of Korra ended, that's when I was fully into girls' love mode. I was fully a Yuri lover. I watched almost every Yuri anime that came out that season. I was reading fan fiction like crazy. I was reading manga on fan-translated sites like crazy. So I was blown away that happened. Now, of course, when the finale initially happened, a lot of people were like, oh, they just held hands, So the creators themselves had to come out and say, yeah, they're in love. They became a couple at the end of it. And we've had comics since then, which finally lets us see them kiss, them explain when they fully did develop feelings for each other. And so far, Korra has continued in comics. There was talk of them doing a film, because they did open like a Avatar studio to do more stuff, but we'll see. It's not really been talked about much here recently, but Korrasami was my first really big ship that I believed would happen, and it did happen. So I was like, that was my first win, was Korrasami. But also, this is around the time RWBY started. Now, RWBY has so many ships in it. that it would be almost impossible to name them all. Even Team RWBY, just staying with Team RWBY would be hard, okay? So I'll just go ahead and state it. My favorite RWBY ship is Nuts and Dolts. I love her and Penny. I think that would have it's a tragic pairing nonetheless, but I don't know. Something about RWBY and Penny is just so doomed, so tragic that it kills me, but I also love the same time. Like, Friend to this day, besides Worthy and Indomitable, I think there was another one, but I can't remember, are like one of the few RWBY songs that actually have made me cry. I can't listen to Friend without crying. It gets me. I literally cannot listen to it without choking up. It's funny. I actually have like 3 favorite Weiss pairings. Schneekos, her and Pyrrha, because it was kind of validated in the mangas that Weiss may have had a crush on Pyrrha. So, yeah, there's that. I think it's called Prismatic Ponytails, and that's her and Ilya. I think story-wise, that would be a very interesting pairing. And then my third one, I love Freezer Burn. Yeah, they may be the doomed, divorced couple, but her and Yang, like, think about it. Snobby, rich girl Weiss falling for a rough and tumble tomboy like Yang. It writes itself. It really does. There's 4. The next one would be B. Schnees, her, Blake, and Yang all together. Blake, I only ship Blake with Yang. That's the only one that really just makes sense to me. And Yang, Bumblebee, of course, but also Freezer Burn. I love her and Weiss together. Now, another one that I have that's kind of a crack ship because it's not like they've interacted a whole lot in the show, but I think they would be very, very chaotic, and that's Yang and Coco. I really think Yang and Coco would be a very interesting pairing. But, the shipping community is very funny. It can be fun in RWBY, but boy, if you run into one of those people who will dog on you if you don't like their ship, like we've had people unsubscribe before because it was a long time ago. We did like a top 7 favorite ships that were not Bumblebee, and they unsubscribed because we put White Rose in honorable mention. That it didn't exactly meet it didn't exactly make the list. And I'm sorry, not everyone has to like your ship. I don't know why it's like that in RWBY. I could really care less if you don't like Bumblebee, but the moment you start insulting people because they like it, then that's the point where it's like, what's wrong with you? So we've stated it before, but I want to state it in this video. I do not hate Sun. I do not hate Black Sun. I've had not very nice interactions with Black Sun shippers. There's one that runs a Tumblr that is, oh boy, it's not, I'm not going to name it because I never want to be that kind of person that's responsible for a witch hunt. Now, if they're doing some actually real harmful stuff, then yes. But just for not liking a ship, I'm not going to. But it's a Black Sun Tumblr fan account that just says hurtful things about B shippers, about Aaron and Barbara, just because Sun and Blake did not end up together. And they're not even happy with the prospect of Sun finding someone else. it's Blake or no one else. And it's like, that's not the right way to be. Like, if Bumblebee hadn't have happened, would I have been sad? Yes, but would I attack people? No. There's no reason to even be that way. But, is Sun my all-time favorite character? No, I do find him a little annoying sometimes, but that's just because I don't gel with that kind of character. He's not my cup of tea. But do I hate him? No, I think Sun is a really great character. He fulfilled what his role was. But do I hate Black Sun? No. But it's funny. Since we're talking about shipping, I'm going to talk about Bumblebee, of course, for a little bit. From day one, from the black and yellow trailers to volume 1, I don't know. There was something about Blake and Yang paired together that just seemed to fit. And maybe it's because, that's what the writers wanted you to feel, like, because it was planned. But Bumblebee will always be my number 2 as far as it's a ship that I started shipping really early and wanted to happen, was very confident it was going to happen, and it did. With it and Kurosami, I was 2 for 2. Well, actually, 4 for 4, because there was 2 others. One of the other ones being Katra and Adora from She-Ra, and then the other one... it's funny. When the Owl House first came out, I wasn't watching it because, come on, I hadn't watched a Disney show in years. Like, there was nothing that interested me that Disney had done for a long, long time. And when it finally came out... Wait, I got a genuine question here. Hold on. Oh, Brittany, you asked the question. Okay, so for the RWBY viewers, our friend Brittany wants to know, and it's a genuine question, what is a WASP in the RWBY shipping community? Okay, so a WASP. That is the term that people who hate Bumblebee and dislike Bumblebee shippers, that's the name they give them. They call them WASPs. It's supposed to be a negative connotation. And also, you could kind of call WASPs as the toxic Bumblebee shippers who, will attack people or who, will try and shame people for not liking Bumblebee. But originally it started off with, that was the name for shippers who shipped Bumblebee, was WASP. The WASPs got what they wanted. That's where that came from. Even though that makes completely no sense, because I'm pretty sure a wasp and a bee are 2 different insects. But hey, who am I to correct them on that? But yeah, then came the Owl House with Luz and Amity, and that one I could see why people had their reservations, because this was Disney we're talking about. No way Disney is going to allow that, but it happened. They not only started dating, they kissed, they ended up together, they were still together when the show ended, and I'm still mad that ended, because that was the best show that Disney had for years, and yeah, they kind of blew that. But yeah, even when Jess started watching RWBY, she watched it from the very beginning, and me and many others told her, keep an eye on these two and tell me what you think. And Jess picked up on it very quickly, that there was obviously something they were building between Blake and Yang. And, it's even like other ships, like Arcos and Renora. The two other ships that we've actually seen on-screen kisses for. There's parallels between all three. There's, like, ways you could relate them all three together. Like I said in one video, Arcos was too little too late. Renora moved a little bit too fast, too soon. Bumblebee was perfect because it took its time. And by the time they finally confessed their feelings and had their kiss, they were both ready. Even though Yang was still a little scared to let her feelings out because of her past and all that. But, it's funny. I said I think it was our analysis where I said it was shocking how much can happen in 24 hours. The day before that episode aired, every member of RWBY, it seems like, we're saying, if you cannot watch this when it airs, stay off the internet. And it was weird because everyone just assumed it was Bumblebee. And Bumblebee was trending that night, the night before Chapter 6 of Volume 9 aired. I didn't want to get my hopes up. We had been trying to predict when the Bumblebee kiss was going to happen, and I was just like, even though they were pushing Bumblebee very hard in Volume 9, it was like, I'm scared. I'm scared to just come out and say that I think it's going to happen. But boy, did it happen. And, if you watch our reaction, I'm speaking gibberish. I can't shut up. I'm crying as I'm talking. Jess actually looks over at me while I'm speaking gibberish because she's like, I think I've lost him. I think he's broken. But it was just a special day. And, to this day, I'll watch the scene every now and then. I'll watch AMVs that people have made, and, I'll get choked up because it makes me realize again that my ship, my all-time ship that I've shipped for all these years, for 10 years, is a thing. They're legit together. They told each other they've loved each other. They've kissed. They've kissed twice now in animation. And that's why that's one of the other reasons why I'm so excited that Viz is the one that bought RWBY, because they've already shown so much support for RWBY. I mean, I think yesterday was National Cat Day, and they posted a GIF of the scene from Volume 7 where Blake and Yang take their selfie together and say, on this day to celebrate Blake, so it's great to see them being so supportive and kind of showing a little bit of support for Bumblebee as well. But to me, Bumblebee, despite the shipping wars, despite all the horrible things that we've all said to each other over it, from Volume 1 to Volume 9, it hits those notes of a story of strangers becoming friends, becoming close friends, going through that little bit of angst to rebuilding their friendship, and then realizing while rebuilding that relationship that they're in love with each other, and then finally admitting to that. It's just to bring a tear to this romantic's eyes is like, if you make me cry in your confession, you've done a good job. Brittany's saying her ship will never be canon, even though they adopted a kid together. She is talking about a Metal Gear ship. I believe it is Snake and... you've told me 10,000 times his name, but what's his name? It's is it Otacon? Is that his name? I'm waiting for confirmation. And yeah, yeah. So that is her big ship from Metal Gear that she thinks will never be, even though they both did adopt a kid together. Um, but there's so many other ships that I could go over. Um, that are like small ships. I thought, oh yeah, that'd be Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact has as much ships as RWBY does as well, but you've got ones that are like almost legit. Lisa and Jean, Ninwang and Beidou, Raiden and Yai, Navia and oh, what's her name? I've got Genshin Impact up right here. Give me a sec. Clorinde, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but I'm not sure. Then you've got Honkai Star Rail. I'm not including Honkai Third Impact because even though I've got it downloaded onto my computer, I've still not touched it because, I mean, come on, I'm already playing 4 gotcha games at the same time. I don't need to add a 5th right now. But Honkai, the MC in Kafka, the MC in March 7th, the MC in Firefly, which I think has the most evidence for the MC ship. But my all-time favorite one in Honkai Star Rail is Acheron and Black Swan. Not only is Black Swan voiced by Aaron, but Acheron is voiced by Allegra Clark, and they both have shown their support for it. And other stuff I've seen, yeah, I think Acheron and Black Swan are pretty much canon at this point. Then there's many ships already in Wuthering Waves, even though it's only been out for a few months. Same thing with, is it Zenless Zone Zero? I don't know. But, I already ship, I've already forgotten her name, but the cop character, I already ship her with Grace. There's so many ships that I could talk about, but I just don't have the time to. But apparently Brittany's favorite Stardew Valley ship is the farmer and Shane. Mine, of course, is the female farmer and Haley. I think Haley has the best story because she goes through actual character development, but I've not done them all yet. Then there's my other favorite series, Rune Factory. There's plenty of ships in that. Maybe here at some point I need to do a regular video on my favorite bachelorettes from the Rune Factory series. But we're almost about an hour now, so I am going to end there. Just a little, gave some history on myself about why I got into shipping. I just love romance. Romance, to me, romance and love is like one of the purest emotions that we can feel in this world. And I think it should always be an important factor in a character's story, whether it's family, whether it's friendship, or whether it is romantic. Everyone should experience love in some form or fashion. And that's why if your story, if your game, if your show has romance in it, I will at least give it a glance over. Now, of course, I now have very strict standards, but that is how it is. But yeah, that's going to be the stream for today. What's this one? Oh yeah, Karen and the farmer in the Harvest Moon series. Yeah, Karen to this day has always been one of my favorite marriage candidates from Harvest Moon. But yeah, I'm going to end it there for today. I only scrubbed the surface. There's so many ships out there. I guess I'll throw in one of Jess's favorites, which is Usagi and Tuxedo Mask. Pretty much, I'm forgetting his real name, but that we were literally cosplaying as Prince Endymion and Princess Serenity when I proposed to her, and that's been a lifelong dream of hers. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here because I need to eat. I've got to open tomorrow for work, so yeah, I need to get as much Genshin Impact in as I can before I go to bed. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. As always, guys, this is Canaan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.